Imagine sitting in a military bunker, staring at a screen that shows enemy missiles heading straight for your country. Sirens are going off. Red lights are flashing. Everyone around you is panicking. You have just a few minutes to make a decision. Launch a counterattack or wait and risk total destruction. If you wait and it's real, your country's wiped out. If it's a false alarm and you launch, you could start a nuclear war that kills millions. This actually happened. And the man in that bunker didn't panic. He didn't push the button, he waited. And by doing nothing, when the world was expecting him to do something, he may have saved humanity. His name was Stanislav Petrov, and most people have never heard of him. Today, we're counting down the key moments in Petrov's story and how one man's calm thinking changed the course of history. 10. Cold War tensions were at their peak. In 1983, the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union was intense. Both sides had thousands of nuclear weapons pointed at each other. Each country believed the other might strike first. Every day felt like walking on a tightrope with a matchstick in your hand and a gasoline fire below. The US had just launched a missile defense program called Star Wars, and the Soviets thought it could lead to a surprise attack. That same year, NATO was running military exercises that looked suspiciously like preparation for a real war. Everyone was nervous, and when people are nervous, they make mistakes. 9. The Soviet early warning system was glitchy. The Soviet Union relied on satellites to detect incoming US missile launches. One of these systems was called OCO. It was supposed to catch any missile launch early enough to allow a response. But the system wasn't perfect. It had flaws. The satellites used infrared sensors to detect the heat from missile launches, but they could be confused by sunlight reflecting off clouds or even rare atmospheric conditions. On the night of September 26, 1983, OCO made a terrible mistake. 8. The system detected a launch, then 4 more. It was just past midnight when Stanislav Petrov took his post at Serpukhov 15, a top-secret Soviet military bunker near Moscow. Everything seemed normal until the satellite early warning system suddenly showed a missile launch from the United States. At first, just one, then another, then 3 more, all within minutes. The screen showed 5 US missiles heading straight toward the Soviet Union. It looked like the beginning of a nuclear war. Petrov was trained for this exact moment. The system was designed to detect incoming attacks so the Soviet Union could strike back in time. But what if it was wrong? He had only minutes to respond. If he waited too long and it was real, millions could die. But if it was a false alarm and he reported it as real, he could help trigger a nuclear war. The weight of the world suddenly rested on his shoulders. 7th Protocol told him to report it. Petrov had strict orders. If the satellite system showed a launch, he had to report it up the chain immediately. There was no room for guessing or delay. Soviet leaders had only a few minutes to respond to a potential US missile attack, and they depended on officers like Petrov to follow protocol without hesitation. A report from him would almost certainly lead to a counterstrike, a launch of Soviet nuclear missiles aimed at the United States. That was the plan: respond fast, strike back hard. But something didn't sit right with him. Why would the US only fire 5 missiles? A real nuclear first strike would likely involve hundreds, not a handful. It seemed too small, too unusual. Petrov knew the system wasn't perfect. He started to question the warning. Should he follow the rule book or trust his gut and risk being wrong? This wasn't just a job anymore. It was life or death. 6th, Petrov used his instincts instead of the rule book. Petrov noticed something strange. If the US really wanted to start a nuclear war, why would they only launch 5 missiles? That seemed way too small for a full first strike. He also noticed that the radar stations on the ground hadn't picked up anything. Only the satellite system showed the launches, and Petrov didn't trust it. He had seen how new and unstable the system was. He knew it could make mistakes. He started thinking, maybe it was a false alarm. Maybe the satellites were wrong. Maybe sunlight or other environmental factors had triggered the alert. So instead of reporting the launch as real, he marked it as a false alarm. 5. Everyone waited in silence. Petrov's decision didn't end the problem right away. For minutes, he and the others in the bunker sat frozen, waiting. If he was wrong, missiles would strike Soviet cities any moment. Moscow could be gone in minutes. Millions could die. But nothing happened. No explosions, no shockwaves, no destruction. The warning had been false. He had been right. By not following the book and staying calm. At component placement, he had stopped what could have been the beginning of World War III. 4. He faced serious consequences. You might think Petrov was rewarded or celebrated after the incident, but that's not what happened. In fact, he was criticized for not filling out the proper paperwork. His actions embarrassed the military and revealed flaws in their technology. So instead of being treated as a hero, Petrov was pushed aside. The incident was kept secret for years. Even his closest friends didn't know what had happened that night. He quietly retired from the military soon after and lived in a small apartment in Russia on a modest pension. 3. The world didn't find out for decades. The story of what happened in that bunker only came out in 1998 when a retired Soviet general mentioned it in an interview. Suddenly, the world realized how close it had come to nuclear war and how one unknown officer had stopped it by going against orders. When journalists finally tracked Petrov down, he was living alone, caring for his sick wife, and still barely making ends meet. He didn't consider himself a hero. He said he just did what felt right. But people around the world saw it differently. Leaders, historians, and peace activists began to recognize how much he had done and how little he had been appreciated. 2. He finally received global recognition. Over time, Petrov began to get the attention he deserved. He was honored by the United Nations, invited to speak at events, and even featured in a documentary called The Man Who Saved the World. He received awards from peace groups and human rights organizations. Still, he remained humble. He didn't believe he was special. He thought anyone else in his position would have done the same. But most people believe that's not true. Many others would have followed the rules. Many others would have panicked. It took one person with courage and clear thinking to stop a disaster. And he happened to be on duty that night. 1. His story is a reminder of what one person can do. Stanislav Petrov passed away in 2017. His death didn't make headlines, but his life tells a story that should never be forgotten. He wasn't a president or a general. He didn't lead armies or sign treaties. He was a mid-level officer who happened to be on duty at the right time and who made the right choice. His story reminds us that the biggest moments in history aren't always loud. Sometimes they happen in quiet rooms with no fanfare and no medals. Sometimes it only takes one person saying, "Wait," to stop the world from falling apart. We often think of world events as things shaped by powerful leaders and large movements. But Petrov's story proves that one thoughtful human being can change everything. And that's it. The unbelievable story of the man who may have stopped World War III and never asked for anything in return. If you found this story surprising, moving, or just important to share, then give this video a like and drop a comment. Stories like this one deserve to be remembered. And if you want more incredible true stories from history, make sure to subscribe. You never know what you'll learn next. Thanks for watching. And here's to never forgetting the people who quietly saved the world.